Hello everyone! Did you know that Sony sold a lot of PS2s? Yes, in fact, they sold over 155 million units. Chances are, if you were alive when this console came out, you probably had 3, and I'm sure you have lots of fond memories playing games on it. I mean, who hasn't spent a night alone with an iToy, a delivery pizza, a bottle of Dr. Pepper, and a copy of iToy Monkey Mania? Those were some wild times indeed, but that's enough reminiscing on our misspent youth for one day. In this video, I'll be talking about 5 PlayStation 2 games that I think are great, and I'll be ranking them from the lowest Metacritic review score to the highest. Ben 10 Protector of Earth is a standard beat-em-up game without anything spectacular to make it stand out from the crowd. For this reason, it sits at the mediocre average review score of 59. With that said, there's still a lot to like here, especially if you're a fan of the original Ben 10 cartoon. In the beginning, the player can play as 2 aliens and Ben Tennyson, each of which have unique attacks and abilities. As the game progresses, the player unlocks more and more aliens and attack combos. There's lots of puzzles to solve throughout the game, fun boss fights, and collectible sumo cards. This all results in a good amount of gameplay variety and replay value that makes this game fun. What do you think about this game? Is it underrated or does it deserve the low score? Crash Bandicoot: The Wrath of Cortex suffers from a similar issue as the last game. It doesn't do many new things. The Crash Bandicoot series is fairly formulaic, so while the first game was unique at the time, each subsequent game has stayed relatively the same with only some minute changes. But at the same time, the original was fun, and therefore, so is this one. The gameplay is addictive, the boss fights are challenging, and the level design is great too. On top of that, the variety in this game is just downright impressive. Each boss fight is unique, each level is in a completely new environment, and there are plenty of things throughout the game that keep the gameplay feeling fresh. If you've played a lot of Crash Bandicoot in the past, this game may not be your cup of tea, but for a first-time player of the series, I would highly recommend you give this game a try. Time Splitters has a score of 81 on Metacritic. Even though this is a fairly high score, I think it deserves an even higher one. The negative critic reviews for this game are scattered, and there isn't really a consensus here on any one specific thing that's bad about the game. There's one review in here that has aged particularly poorly. Time Splitters is, in my opinion, the single best first-person shooter on the PS2. I'd say it's the best FPS in the entire console generation, if not for Halo's existence. This game sees the player go through multiple levels, all set in different time periods, past, future, and present. In these levels, the player has to shoot through enemies while trying to find an artifact. After the artifact is found, the enemy Time Splitters start spawning to stop the player from getting the artifact back to the spawn area. On top of the single-player levels, there is a multiplayer mode that supports up to 4 players. To wrap this up, Time Splitters is a fast-paced, innovative FPS that feels much more modern than other PS2 shooters. It's an absolute must-have for any PS2 collector out there. Katamari Damacy is a strange one. It's highly rated with a review score of 86, but also weird. In this game, the player simply rolls a ball around. The ball in question consists of objects picked up from the environment. The goal is to collect items to make the ball bigger in order to collect even bigger items that, again, make the ball bigger. If an item is too big to be absorbed into the ball will lose some mass. In the beginning, the ball is just a few centimeters in size, and eventually it can be built up to absorb entire continents. There isn't a whole lot of criticism of the game. The only review keeping the score sub 90 is a 70, and it complains of the graphics not being good enough. In my opinion, the game has some of the nicest looking graphics on the PS2. However, that's mainly just because they look cartoony, and cartoony graphics tend to age better than realistic ones. Regardless, the game is simplistic enough for anyone to immediately pick up, it's very fun, and the scale is just astonishing, especially for a game from 2004. Burnout Revenge is a must-have, obviously. If you didn't see the score, it's 90, and not many games get scores that high, really. This game is a lot like Crazy Taxi with its fast-paced, reckless, and just downright aggressive driving. The player's goal in this game, no matter the game mode, is to drive fast and destroy things. One game mode has a countdown, and once it reaches 0, the game ends. The only way to add time is to make the other cars racing alongside you crash, usually by forcing them into a wall or making them spin out. And of course, the other racers try to do the same thing to you. It's super hectic. There isn't really much more to say about Burnout Revenge. It's just a fun, exciting racing game that everyone should play at least once. And there it is, 5 great PlayStation 2 games. Are there any PlayStation 2 games that you like? Maybe some that are underrated? Let me know in the comments below, and thank you for watching.